She said she was no longer married to David. She called the police on David many times, and David was kicked out of the house. When David left, the financial nightmare began. "14 years in the UK and nothing to show for it." This is a story about a friend I'll call David. We came into the UK together, and I'm going to share his experience, and hopefully his experience will help many of you who are struggling to get your papers in the UK to take the right decision. For many immigrants, this is a harsh reality. Please listen closely, as whatever decisions you take now will influence your future. So please listen to the story of David. In 2011, I came into the country with David. David came to do his master's. David was in a relationship with a lady I'll call Ada back home. David was in this relationship for nearly 8 years. Things were not working out, so he decided with his girlfriend that it was time for him to move to the United Kingdom so that he will get a good job, finish his studies, secure a good job, come back, marry Ada, and both of them will have a beautiful family. But when David came to the country, just when we were finishing our master's degree, Theresa May removed post-study work. So a lot of people were caught in between staying and doing extra degree like PhD or going back home. So this was a big decision. Remember, I said David had plans, had dreams with Ada, and they had future together. But David's friends spoke to David. They tried to convince him. They told him, why don't you marry a British citizen? Why don't you marry a British person? And then this person will give you papers and then you stay in the country. And David thought, what about Ada? I've spent years with Ada. How am I going to tell her that this is my new plan? Oh my God, what will I do now? And his friends encouraged him to go into this relationship with this new lady. Actually not a relationship, but a marriage. And they went into this marriage. The lady probably had the mind of settling with David, but David had the mind of, securing his future in the UK by getting a settlement. And David completely forgot about Ada. Ada eventually got married to someone else and had her own family. So the problem with David then started. But life in the UK was harder than David thought. He was still struggling to complete his tuition fee, to pay it off. He borrowed lots of money. His rent was a problem. Endless shifts at work, and remember, he was on a student visa, so he could only work for 20 hours a week. Years passed very quickly. David found himself stuck in this marriage. When I spoke to him last, he did have a thought. He said, should he go home and, stay with Ada, get married to Ada, and two of them will stay? But again, on the other path, he stayed in that relationship for 8 years. He needed to make things work. He needed to make money so that he would go back and take care of Ada. But he didn't go into this marriage with the intention of going into a proper marriage. He went into this marriage with the intention of securing his visa. At first, he thought he would be temporary. It will not be something that will last long. He would just zoom in, get married to this lady, get the papers, zoom out. Remember, this lady was previously married. She had 2 children there, and she is 7 years older than David. So David got married to her and, of course, was looking after those stepchildren of his. Then came a child in the picture. The following year, another child. So they had 2 children plus the other 2 children for the lady, making it 4 children. David was having issues all along in this marriage. The woman, sometimes when they quarrel, the woman will insult him. He will tell him, you lied to my people. You told them you were coming into the country. They should give you visa. And after your studies, you go back. Can you go back home? Can you go back home? I know you don't really love me. You're just here for your papers, but I'm going to make it difficult for you. I'm going to make it difficult for you to stay in the country. And do you know what, guys? The lady reported David, to the UKVI. She said she was no longer married to David. She called the police on David many times, and David was kicked out of the house. David was depressed. He was thinking his life was coming to an end. He's got 2 children and he's been kicked out of his house. He needed to take care of those children and he still needed to work. He was trapped, He couldn't live without the children because, of course, he didn't want to look like a bad father to them. However, the love was never there. He was having constant arguments with the mother of these children, which is the wife. And the marriage turned toxic before she then decided to report David, and David was kicked out of the house. But you know what? When David left, the financial nightmare began. He received a letter about paying child support. He needed to, I forgot to tell you, David had a mortgage with this lady. So he needed to continue to pay for the mortgage. And that is the house the lady and her 4 children now are staying. So David was paying child support for the children. And this will be for, I think, up till they get to 18. So David was doing that, and he continues to do that. Child support will automatically be deducted from your salary once you're working. So that's the thing. There's no excuse at all. So his paycheck was disappearing like this, okay? He'll pay for mortgage, he'll pay for child support. At the end of the day, he had nothing to show in his account. He was looking empty, and you know what? Ada, now happily married with 3 children, relocated with her husband to the US, and she had a better life. But David is stuck here in the UK without any better life, but instead continue to pay for child support and also looking like a bad father to his children. David's story is not unique. I've heard many stories about people in this situation. Many immigrants rush into marriage just to get their papers without thinking of the long-term consequences. If you are new in the UK, here is what you need to do on arrival, or what you need to do instead. Secure your papers the right way. Do not be answerable to anybody because the person is giving you papers, or because you are getting married to the person for the sake of paper. You will not know what you are getting into. Explore different options. Explore different legal options, okay, that you can use to stay in the UK, to secure your ILR, indefinite leave to remain, to secure your British citizenship. There are so many options. Consider work visas. Consider skilled worker routes, okay? Even consider other countries. You don't have to be stuck here. You can consider opportunities in other countries, but you need to have a better life. You need to have a happier life. There is also now the post-study work, which I said was removed. People that have come in to study can work for 2 years, and after 2 years, they can either go or go into another route, another visa route. Seek legal advice if you are confused or if you don't know which option to take. Remember that marriage is a lifelong commitment. It's not something you rush in and rush out. It's not a visa application form, okay? If you marry for papers and not for love, you are going to suffer. That's the truth. You might get your legal status, yes, but do you know what costs? It will cost you your happiness. It might give you depression. It might lead to divorce as well. How about child support, which in the case of David, I also told you about, and this happens in many cases when children are involved. Think ahead, okay? Build your financial stability early. Learn high-income skills, okay? Something that will make you employable. Learn those skill sets. Start saving from day one, okay? Do not collect loans, payday loans, credit cards, overdraft without having a plan for them. You don't have a plan to invest those money. You just collect and spend them. No, at the end of the day, you'll be stuck in a very bad financial situation. And if you plan to have kids, choose your partner wisely, okay? Choose who to have kids wisely, because every point in time, whether you are with that person or you're not with that person, there's an extension of that person in your kids, okay? You continue to see the other person in your kids, whether you are with them or you're not with them. That is my personal opinion though, and that is what I think happens. Don't bring a child into this world without thinking properly, without planning a future for them. Do not. And don't be selfish, because in the case of David, he was really, really selfish. All he wanted was his papers. He wasn't thinking of any other person. Even the lady he got married to, he also put her in a very difficult situation because she was also quarreling with him. And I believe that that's not what she wanted. So David was very, very selfish in this situation. David would have found other options without getting stuck, without bringing children into this life and making them have a broken home. No, if you already have kids, okay, think about their future, not your visa status. Your visa is not equivalent to those kids, okay? Kids are higher, okay? A failed marriage leads to legal battles. If kids are involved, divorce can take a very long time before it gets resolved. And what about the emotional trauma for the child? What about the emotional trauma for yourself? What about your families back home? In the case of David, what about Ada? Do you know what he put her through? Do you know the commitment she made towards him traveling abroad? Do you know the plans they both had together? She will never forget David, even though she's married to another person. David took 8 years out from her without actually making it fruitful. Okay, so that is the problem. And now 14 years in the UK with nothing to show for it. Instead, David now has lots of issues, lots of problems. Don't let David's story be your story. Okay, plan for your future. Do not put visa over your happiness. Prioritize your happiness first. Secure your papers the right way and make decisions that will benefit you in the future. Okay, you don't have to be indebted to someone because the person gave you papers. Okay, I can't imagine what David also passed through in the marriage. Think about a long-term goal or long-term plan that will guarantee you peace of mind. If you found this video very helpful, or if David's story related to you or someone you know, please like, comment, tell us about the story, tell us how they managed to handle the situation or how you managed to handle the situation. And please don't forget to subscribe, turn on that notification button as well, so that whenever I release a new video, you'll be the first to get it. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.